movement and meditation might also be more prevalent now versus in the past because we hold and have a different amount of stress and tension, of pain and trauma and things, the imbalances and stuff that we're working through than in the past. Welcome to another video on this YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about meditation and movement during meditation. There are a lot of different meditation techniques. I think that it has evolved over the years, and I don't know all of the meditation techniques, but traditionally, during meditation, we sit down, or most people sit, and we focus on stillness. We focus on presence. We focus on the breath. Sometimes we'll count down or use certain imagery. And so traditionally, when I have meditated in the past, that's what it looks like for me. It looks like I have a little meditation pillow and I sit down cross-legged and I have my hands usually in like the root chakra mudra, which is like this, on my legs, but not always. Sometimes I'll do like the sacral chakra, and sometimes I'll just have my hands present. And then I try to keep my spine erect and my head tilted down because the chakra column that goes up within and without our physical bodies, the energy flows the best when the spine is straight for meditation. And then I'll breathe deeply and I do a countdown. And then whatever the intention of that meditation is, whether it is, I'm trying to connect with like my spirit guides or my angelic team or my ancestors. I also work with dragons a lot in a very magical sense. So sometimes I connect with my dragon team. But then there are a lot of times I go into meditative space to connect with myself. I go into meditative space to go into my heart center, to do my shadow work and see what shadows need to be heard at this particular time. I'll go in and, I'll do like some healing work. Sometimes I'll blend meditation and a self-Reiki session together. Sometimes I just need clarity on a situation and, I'm back and forth, I'm teeter-tottering as far as how I'm going to show up in a situation where I feel conflicted. And I might go into meditative space to find my center again and get clarity. Right? So there's so many reasons, and those are just like off the top of my head because a lot of the videos here are unscripted, right? So it's like I have an inspired idea and I'm just going to share what comes through in this space. So those are just off the top of my head, different reasons why I might go into meditative space, but traditionally I sit there, I breathe deeply, especially while I'm counting down, and then I let my breath just kind of do its own thing. And I'm still. But recently, and especially today, I have been feeling called to experiment with more movement in meditation. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. Today, something pivotal happened in my life. The day that I'm recording this video, it is the solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse, new moon in Libra, the day before the fall equinox. Hi, gorgeous. Look how cute she is. I just had to acknowledge her. There was also somebody that had come back into my life recently in a romantic capacity and wanted to see if the relationship that never worked previously and that had never really even fully began could work with me now. And we went on a date previously in the week, and I don't know if this would be my biggest flaw or my biggest strength, maybe both, depending on the context, but I give a lot of chances, too many chances, and I forget and I forgive because I don't hold on to grudges. And so when I haven't spoken with somebody in 7 months and they're like, hey, just wanted to reach out, can we talk? I'm like, hell yeah, let's chat. But then as you go through the motions of reacquainting, it can go one of two ways. Either we can get really excited about all the growth and change and healing we have done since we haven't spoken with each other, or as we get reacquainted, we might see and remember some of the reasons why a particular situation didn't work out in the past, why maybe someone got blocked in the past, or like, oh, this isn't gonna work out. And that's what happened with this guy. We went on one date and certain situations happened. And I can talk about that in another video if anyone's interested. Certain situations happened and it kind of left me feeling a certain way. And then it was very interesting because he was supposed to come over today. In fact, he would be on his way to me pretty soon, originally. And at the very last moment, my parents, who live about 3 hours away from where I live in this small town in the Midwest, at the very last moment, my parents were like, hey, we have something going on in this city. Your place is in between. Can we spend the night at your house Friday night? And so I'm like, sure, hell yeah, come over. And so I had told them as part of this conversation because they had a little bit of flexibility in when they needed to arrive in the city. And I said, just not on Sunday night. And so when they were over, they were like, so what's going on Sunday? Which prompted me to talk about this guy that came back in my life. And so I'm talking to my mom primarily. So a couple things happened. I noticed that I wasn't looking at my dad in the face when I was talking about why this guy was coming over. And so I'm like, okay, I'm observing myself being embarrassed about this. And then my mom asked more questions about it later on because we like to stay up and chat a lot when we visit. And I observed myself being very concerned about having this person in my life again. And she asked a lot of questions, as loving and caring parents do, to make sure that their children aren't blindsided and, that, we're remembering our boundaries and like just an objective perspective. Like, what about this? What about this? Why is this happening? Why is it like this? Right. And I'm like, yeah, good questions, valid questions, especially when you meet someone and right away they're talking about like marriage and children. It's like, we went on one date and yes, we've known each other for 6 years, but we haven't been actively involved in each other's life on like we're seeing each other in person, regularly. So anyway, today, long story shorter, today I had a conversation with this guy, and based on, some of the concerns that were brought up to me, and some of the concerns that I had already observed from us reconnecting, I asked him questions. I really feel like I have an emotional intelligence at a level where I communicate in a respectful and healthy way. I try to nourish, self-nourish, and other nourish, right, in my communication. And if I'm communicating with somebody that is upset at what I'm saying and then wants to like throw it back at me or like say, oh, well, you do this. That's a manipulation tactic. So I try to, and what I did with this person was I held space for that. And I was like, wow, I apologize that me doing this affected you in this capacity. I will stop, or I will try to stop. I will work on stopping. Because I don't think that it's fair when as women, we nitpick guys a lot, but then we're never open to feedback when they are feeling like they're getting torn down by somebody and they're like, well, shoot, I've got complaints too, so we could be open to receiving feedback, like we're always open to correcting men's behavior as a general thing, right? not specific, general. So in communicating with this person and the way that he handled the questions and everything about it, the conversation today was me letting him go. Me saying, I cannot do this, such an attractive person, physically just amazing, really handsome, gym bro, muscles, just amazing. But I don't care what these gym bros say. Working out does not replace therapy. It's a good addition, but this guy's been working out a long time, and those trauma wounds are maybe 2% better than when I first met him 6 years ago. So anyway, it was hard to do. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to practice communicating my truth, being firm in my boundaries, and just letting somebody know that it's not going to work out, So I did. And right afterwards, I decided to meditate because it was a lot, right? I have a history with this person. The potential on paper would have been amazing. I'm 38. I'm single. So yeah, doing that was hard. And I cried afterwards. But I actually felt a shift happen. I felt an alignment take place. And it's very interesting that all this lined up and happened on this weekend when, we have the fall equinox and the new moon in Libra, which is all about this balance energy. And coming back to what is out of balance in our lives that we could bring back into balance. And how can we actually take steps to do that? And what does that look like, right? So the fact that all this happened today on the new moon was very synchronistic. It was very synchronistic. So I try to be the type of person that does not live by signs, but notices signs when they show up. Like the sign that I'm going to follow my cute cat around in this video. So I decided to do a meditation after the separation happened. I felt a shift. I thought that it would be a great time to connect with myself and my soul and just give a little self-nourishing. So meditation in this aspect was to be kind of a self-healing, self-nourishing session. So in this self-nourishing meditation that I did today with the intention of checking in with my heart, with my soul, with my body, with my aura, with how many times I have had to do the tough thing by severing a relationship, and how is that still impacting my life, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of these things. And so as I'm in meditative space, I just, what does release look like? It's release in this meditation. And so I felt myself like shaking, I'm like shaking it out. And then I'm a Reiki practitioner. So Reiki is activated and comes through our hands, but it can be utilized in other fashions as well, like through the breath and through the eyes, feet, all that stuff. Intention, all that. But most often through the hands. And so, I'm moving, I'm feeling certain things in my body. So I'm like touching certain places in my meditation. I went into an alpha state. I went into a meditative state, and I just connected with releasing any residual cords or imbalances from any guy within this lifetime that has hurt me. Not necessarily like, oh, you hurt me, but like the relationship not working out is not a joyful experience. It hurts emotionally, spiritually, mentally, more than physically, hopefully. And I just wanted to be present with that. And so there was a lot of movement that took place. I was shaking, I was stroking, I was touching, I was nourishing, I was activating. And it was interesting because it's so rare that we hold conversation around movement within meditation. There's talk of like walking meditations, but I personally haven't heard of anything where it's like we're moving while in meditative space. So it was something that I have thought about often lately. So the movement felt like it assisted with the release. It's a physical act that blends and merges the energy of the thing and the physical, tangible, fleshy part of the thing too. There's a conjoining that happens, right? There's conversation within any kind of like chakra books where certain things that we do energetically, or certain energetic blocks that we have or imbalances that we have, manifest and affect us physically and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of it. So the merging between the energy of the thing and the physicality of the thing it's integrated whether we see it or not. But this is part of the conversation of working on developing intuition, right? Checking in with your body, recognizing when your body is doing certain things or communicating certain things to you. So movements within this meditation, whether it was shaking or it was touching and nourishing, it brings awareness to pockets of imbalance that may have been still held within my physical frame. And it helped me to be able to identify them easier. It helped me to be able to release them more fully. It felt like more of a release happened versus just sitting there and just using my visualization, willpower, and presence. I definitely don't say this in the capacity of this will be how it always is in every kind of meditation. But I think that it is an option that may not have been explored fully in the past. And movement and meditation might also be more prevalent now versus in the past because we hold and have a different amount of stress and tension, of pain and trauma and things, the imbalances and stuff that we're working through than in the past. I mean, think about how vast our world becomes as our information grows and the access that we have to information grows. What affects us becomes huge. Insurmountable is a word that pops into my head. It's just way bigger than if we didn't have TV. We didn't have social media. We didn't have, news across the globe to see all of the trauma and violence and scary things that, happen where any living being is, frankly. So I do feel like how we reset and how we heal from what we absorb can evolve over time if we choose to. And also, how often are we making sure to release stress and tension and cords that are connected to, traumatic events or experiences or people, or, when a breakup happens, how often are we doing a healing meditation or a Reiki session or, some kind of cleansing, purging ritual to release the bond and the tether that we had to that person or that event or that situation. And if we don't, it doesn't just disappear. It might lessen over time or might be hidden away, but that's how shadows are born. So, it's just a part of the conversation that is a good reminder, right? How often are we doing that? And I think for me personally, sometimes I am not super regimented within my meditation practice. Sometimes things just slip through the cracks. Sometimes I know when I need to sit down and do a meditation because my body tells me. It's like, you need to hold some space. Or I can tell that I'm more reactive versus responsive. Maybe I'm more easily irritable and agitated. Or maybe I'm more depressed and lonely. Maybe I'm more emotional and tearful than normal. Some of the ways that we just naturally are showing up in life can be good indicators that some purging or cleansing is needed because we're not feeling sound and whole within ourselves. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you have done. Have you done any movement within meditation? Do you have a meditation practice? What has that looked like to you? Have you done like an event or participated in a workshop where there was like movement and meditation and it worked really well for you? Maybe it was like a eye-opening, amazing experience. I would love to hear some of those thoughts. Or have you done it and it really did nothing for you? We're all different, and that's okay. In classes and workshops, when we are tapping into the spiritual and magical realms, especially, we have different natural innate gifts or things that we can easily access compared to each other. So some people might see, clairvoyantly visuals and imagery, and some people might hear whisperings, and some people just might, be more like, I feel the vibes in my body. So it's all different. Everything impacts us and affects us differently because we're all slightly different and unique from each other. So that way we can absorb and obtain and create and manifest from the recipe that is unique to our lens within our speck of the collective. So I think I'm going to cap it there for my rambling session today, but I would love to hear any thoughts if you want to share them. This is something that has been super prevalent, more so today, but it has been something that has been whispering and building up in my practice over time. So today I experimented with it for the first time and I really enjoyed it. It was very impactful, and I feel more aligned and more clear and more reset and more fully released with the cords that I had compared to past times that I have tried to do any kind of cord cutting rituals or anything like that. And I did, even in that meditative space, like when you're in a very like creatrix, creator kind of vibe, you can not even be in ritual space and just be in meditative space and just be like, all right, I'm inviting in Archangel Michael to help me with this right now. I did that in this meditation, and instead of using the flaming sword, it was more like fill my aura with like shoots of lightning to help illuminate and clear any of these harmful cords. So yeah, love to hear any thoughts. Stay wild and spooky, but most of all, stay magical. This is Mina. I will see you next time. Until then, take care. Bye.